Well, hello, my friends. Welcome back to the show. My name is Deanna Yates, and you are listening to episode 259 of the Wannabe Clutter Free Podcast. On today's episode, I am going to be going back to looking at the empowering framework for assessing our life and seeing where clutter affects the 10 areas of our life that I think make up the empowering life that we all want to be living. And so if this is really sounding like, what in the world is she talking about? Go check out episode 256. Listen to the beginning of that one. I break down what it means, what the empowering life assessment means, and how it ties into my clutter freedom framework, and how those two work together. But basically what it means is empowering is an acronym for the 10 major areas in your life. And on that last one, we tackled your marriage and family and how clutter affects your family. We've also talked about how it affects your finances, and that was earning and spending. It was the second E in empowering. And today we're going to go all the way to the end of the word, and we're going to talk about good times, G. This is where fun comes into your life and how clutter affects your life and makes you feel burdened and really kind of weighs you down and makes it harder for you to enjoy your life. And so that is what we are tackling today. So thank you so much for joining me. I think it's going to be a great one. I'm really enjoying this series of this 10-part series basically that I'm having in between the amazing guest interviews that we have. I just started getting some really exciting calendar appointments for some podcast interviews coming through my inbox. So I cannot wait to bring those to you over this summer. If you haven't yet already, please subscribe to the show so you don't miss those. You can also follow along on Instagram. I am at Wannabe Clutter Free over there. And then if you want show notes for today, you can get those at wannabeclutterfree.com/259. All right, let's get on with it. When was the last time you had real fun? Like the belly laughing, soul filling, playful kind of fun? It's likely been a while. If you are like most of the women I know, most of the moms I know, it has been a while, and I promise you're not alone. I hear this over and over again. But what if I told you that clutter, yes, clutter, the stuff in your home, all of the different items you own, all of the different things on your calendar, all of the different emotional things that you are juggling in your mind is a major reason that your life feels too heavy to enjoy? What if I said that? Would you think I was crazy? Would you think I wasn't right? Or would you say, that's fantastic, but what the heck am I supposed to do about it? Well, that's what this episode is about, because fun isn't just a luxury. It's not. It's fuel. It boosts your energy. It improves mental health. It strengthens your relationships. It's really why we are trying and chasing all of the things we're chasing, right? We want happiness, right? The key to life is happiness. I think that that's a misnomer, because I think happiness can be attained every single day. I know there's always going to be things that we're trying to strive for and achieve, and goals we're going to have, and things we want to do, and not everything is perfect. Happiness is not perfection. And once we get to a different level of life or the next stage, or we reach that goal, we don't stop. There's more things we want to do. There's more we want to be doing. And so growth, I think, is the key there. And fun is the thing that makes all of it more worthwhile and makes it more exciting to live. So fun reconnects you to you. It's an identity marker beyond just being a mom, being a partner, being a boss, being a parent, all of the different labels that you have on yourself, right? It allows you to connect to you, the person that's within that true self-identity. But we modern moms, we are starved for it. And it is not because we don't have ideas. It's not because we don't want to have fun. We do. Girls just want to have fun, right? It's because we don't have the capacity. We have filled our lives up to the brim with things and all of the overwhelming things that we need to do. And we just forget to add the fun back in. We think there's no time. We push it off to the side. I'll do that later. I'll go on that trip later. I'll read that book later. I will have more fun later. I will do some self-care later. Later doesn't come because we keep pushing it off. And so that's what I really want us to work on today. I'm going to give us some really fun tips and things we can do, tips to have more fun, and things we can do that really will make an improvement in our life without adding to the overwhelm, and hopefully can just spark a little bit, be that first domino that starts to fall and can create a waterfall effect for you in your life. There was a stat or a quote I ran across the other day. Adults laugh on average 17 times per day, which, okay, that sounds great. 17, that sounds fine. Kids laugh over 300 times a day. 300. And I get that kids don't have the responsibilities we have, but can we close that gap a little bit? Can we raise ours up a little bit? Can we laugh a little bit more? Get a little bit closer to that 300? I'm not saying we're going to get there all the way, but let's get a few more laughs in our day. All right, so let's talk about why fun disappears in the first place. I have 3 things I want us to cover about this. And the first one is the parenting paradox. So you have kids to enjoy life more, right? I think we think about all the fun we're going to have as a family, all the things we're going to get to do as a family. I don't think we bring kids into the world and expect that it's going to be so challenging. I think we know it's going to be challenging, but we're not like, oh, I'm doing this so I can just add to my load, right? But we end up buried under toys, routines, guilt, all of those things that come with having a family. And especially in our modern society, we have social media telling us we've got to do these different things in order for our kids to succeed. We know that the kids down the street are already playing soccer and they're already on the competitive soccer league. So if our kid ever wanted to be a soccer player, do they want to be a soccer player? I don't know. But if they ever did, well, they're already 3 years behind. We fell into that. Our daughter tried softball and she was 9 at the time. And we thought, okay, great. Not that many kids have to be doing this, right? Oh no, those girls were so good. It was fantastic for them, right? But our daughter trying to break into it, trying to come in, she felt really intimidated and behind. And it's because we are siloing so much in our life, right? We're pushing to be better. We're already like the ideas of our kids at 9 being, well, maybe if they love it, they can get a scholarship, to college. Like these are the thoughts that come up. And very few things in our life are done just for fun, just as a hobby. This is something I have struggled with a lot in my life, trying to take up something that's just a hobby. And I feel like, well, what's the point if there's no end game? So I get this too, right? So understanding that we have children, the idea at the beginning was to enjoy life more, but now we've ended up burying ourselves with too many expectations, too much stuff to do, too much stuff to manage, all the different routines, all the different things. So that's number 1, why fun disappears. Number 2, it's the perfection trap. High achieving moms feel like fun is earned only after the work is done, right? We don't actually think about fun being part of it, right? We don't think about the journey. We think about the end goal. We have the end in mind when we start something new. Like I just said with the hobbies, right? If something doesn't have a potential to make money or be successful or grow a skill or something, it took me a really long time to just be like, well, it's okay. It's just part of the process. It's something I'm trying for fun. And those words were really hard for me to say for a very long time. So yes, the perfection trap of feeling like, okay, when I get this done, then I will have fun, right? When the work is done. I need to be a hard worker, right? Self-identifying as a hard worker. And those really tough outer sayings that we say about ourselves make it hard to say like, hey, it can be fun. The people that are joking around, are they really getting as much done as those that are like really into the work? So being able to relax a little bit and say, the journey is part of it, right? It's first off, perfection doesn't exist. And secondly, can we have fun through the process? The process is what we really should be focusing on instead of the end goal. And then the third thing is the clutter tax. And this means every pile, drawer, overflowing calendar event is silently zapping our energy, our creativity. It takes the fun out of things because we're constantly striving and achieving or feeling completely overwhelmed. So if you are like looking around your home and you're thinking, oh, there's just too much stuff here, it's zapping the fun out of your home, right? You no longer have the energy to have space for play. So we are pushing all of this off to someday. And the problem is our kids are growing up and we're not going to get these days back. And so I don't say that to make us feel guilty. I say that to open our eyes to the fact that, okay, we can make changes today so that we can start to have fun. We can make decluttering more fun. We can make the things we're doing, if we can just enjoy the process and the journey and think about the angle of how can we bring more fun and light and joy back into this? Makes it a much better approach. Let's take a quick break, and when we come back, I'm going to talk about how having less can actually unlock more fun, more spontaneity, and more joy. So that might sound crazy, but promise you it does work, and I will show you some examples from my life. Be right back. Welcome back. I want you to know that when you clear the clutter from your home, you are not just cleaning out your drawers or making space on your counters. You are creating margin in your life to finally feel light again. And when you feel light again, you will have more space, more time, more just capacity to fill it with whatever you want. And I'm hoping that after we talk about today, after you listen to this episode, you think, I want to fill it with more fun. And part of the reason why I wanted to record this episode today was because summer is right around the corner. So we are in full swing of, I know we're totally late on this because we just couldn't figure out what we wanted to do this summer, but we have 4 weeks planned out. That gives us 6 weeks of things to fill in. And so we are going to be planning that this week. What do we want to fill that time with? I wanted to be more present this summer because this is the last summer, like before our daughter goes off to junior high. And I feel like it's the last one where she's going to be a kid, like a child. And I just can feel it. I can just feel that she's going to be growing up. She's going to be wanting to hang out with her friends more. She's going to be a teenager next summer. So I feel like this is it. And I wanted to have space for freedom, for fun, to fill in with things we wanted to fill it in with and not have to really lock it all down with camps and be busy the whole time. So I'm creating margin in my summer to fill with joy and spontaneity and fun. So some examples that we've been able to do in our home when we've cleared clutter, since we've cleared clutter, we've set up a tent in our living room and had like a Moroccan night where we hung up fairy lights and we had a movie and the front of the tent was set out so you could see the TV and we snuggled in the tent and that was super fun. In fact, I'm going to put that on our list to do again this summer. We had a lot of fun doing that. So camping in your living room kind of a thing. Other things we have been able to do as a family since decluttering is travel. So the very first time we traveled as a family was for 6 months to Europe, and we sold 95% of what we owned. After that, we recluttered a house. So I know what it is like to go from both extremes. However, learning from that experience, we were able to travel again when our daughter was 5. So we spent her kindergarten year actually traveling Europe again. She got to do kindergarten in Germany, and a lot of that was because we weren't so attached to our stuff. We didn't feel stuck. We had what we needed. We had enough. Of course, we put our stuff into storage. We didn't sell everything again that second trip, but it allowed us to have that perspective that the stuff wasn't weighing us down. We weren't tied down. We knew it was possible to be able to do it. And if we would have been so tied to our stuff, had we not decluttered, had we not gotten to the heart of really what stuff can do for us and its purpose and being a useful tool, we never would have made that second trip. We wouldn't have gone for as long as we did. We made that decision 2 weeks prior to leaving. So the culmination of that was I got super burnt out at work. I ended up quitting that job, and in between finding work or a different job, we said, okay, we're going to take 2 weeks and we're going to travel. And then it was let's do a month in Spain. And then the month turned into, okay, wait, let's do the summer before she starts elementary school. And we feel like we are locked in and, settled. And then we found out kindergarten wasn't required in 35 of the 50 states and in any of the states that we had ever lived in or were planning to ever live in. And so we said, well, then why not go for the year? And none of that would have been feasible. Our minds would not have even been opened to that possibility had we not decluttered, let go of stuff, and felt so connected or tied down to it. So this is what I mean when I say clutter and getting rid of your stuff that you don't need. I'm not saying get rid of everything. Obviously, we still have stuff in our home. We are a suburban family, so there are things that we are surrounded with. I get it. But it's a balance, and it's being able to not feel claustrophobic, not feel stuck, have that feeling of freedom and being able to say, like, you know what, stuff is just useful. And if it's not useful, then I can let it go. And being able to then free yourself from those expectations that everyone else has on you, that you have on you, and making room for fun. All right. I hope that makes sense. And I hope you are able to kind of see how that works. In the next section, we're going to talk about how to reclaim fun through decluttering. So I have 3 steps for you. But before we get into that, we're going to take one more quick break to hear from our sponsors. Okay, so if you're sitting there going, okay, this sounds great. I love that I want to be able to unlock more fun. I want to be more spontaneous. I want to have more joy in our family. Right now, I'm feeling really stuck and I don't know what to do. How do I do this? How do I go from where I feel overwhelmed and burdened to feeling more free? Well, I want you to know that you don't have to throw it all away. I saw this saying the other day, you don't need to add more to your plate. You just need to scrape off what doesn't belong. And I just thought that was kind of a funny way to think about it. So, step number 1 is to reframe fun as a non negotiable. There are so many things we have as non negotiables in our life. Why is fun not one of them? Why is it that we say, it's okay, we'll just put that off later? I have all this stuff to do. I've got this giant to do list and I'm going to check it all off and I'm going to run myself ragged. Why is that okay? But we don't think fun is important. It is important. So that is step number 1. I want you to schedule in some margin in your calendar. I want you to schedule in some free time, some playtime. I want you to have an unscheduled day of the week if possible. And I know a whole day, like going from being jam-packed to an entire day free, is really not feasible. Like you're looking at me going, you are a crazy lady. This is not going to happen. But what if you said, we're going to block off the morning and we're going to have that time for fun, right? We're not going to do the work first. We're actually going to have the fun first. So let's have some fun. Let's sleep in. Let's lounge around a little bit. Let's go and do something super fun. And then maybe it even creeps into the afternoon. And then 1, 2 o'clock, you're going to say, okay, then we're going to buckle down. We're going to do a little bit of this, that, or whatever. If that doesn't work for you, flip-flop it. Say, okay, we're going to sleep in. We're going to have a little bit of, chill time. And then we're going to do an hour worth of work or an hour worth of chores and cleaning and planning for the next week, and race against the clock and put the timer on and say, okay, we have 60 minutes. Let's do it. And if 60 minutes is too much because you have little kids, and I know that's way too much time that feels structured, like let your kids kind of ebb and flow in on this. And then maybe it's just 60 minutes for you and your partner, or do 15-minute spurts and then check back in. 15 minutes, check back in. Like it can be broken up. It doesn't all have to be in one fell swoop, but that is one way that can work too. Really making the work on the weekends concentrated and using your timer and the clock so that you're racing against it and getting more done. It is amazing how much our brain wants to just like really finish something. Like if we have a deadline, we want to finish before the deadline. So use that to your advantage and race the clock. Okay. If you struggle with what you want to do in these free time moments, ask yourself, what did you love doing as a 10-year-old? And then what could that look like now? Ask your kids, what do they love doing? Borrow ideas from your family. And if you want to have some free time and fun time just for you, and then some free time and fun time for the family, I love that. I love being able to have both of those times in my week. So think about that. Do you love doing puzzles? Nobody else in your family likes puzzles? Well, that's fine. No one else has to do the puzzle, but maybe you have a puzzle out on your dining table. Okay, here's one trick that we have done for puzzles. You can put placemats over the puzzle and just eat on top of the placemat. And so you don't have to put the puzzle away. You can have it out on your dining table. And that's something fun that you might be able to then just walk by and put a few pieces in. Maybe it's out for a whole week. Maybe it's out for 10 days, but it gives you something to do if it's something fun for you. And if you enjoy doing puzzles, that's something you can do. Maybe your kids love having tickle fights. My daughter loves tickle fights. Not really my favorite, but I will say that once we start getting into it and she's giggling and I'm giggling, it is fun, right? We do have a good time with that. Now, I don't want to be tickled every single day. So at one point we did have tickle time where it was like every Tuesday, I think it was like Tickle Tuesday. And so then it was just like, okay, 10 minutes, set the clock. We can have that tickle time. She got it. She got her tickle time in and like really enjoyed it. And then I always knew that the whole rest of the week, it wasn't going to be a tickle all the time moment. It'd be like, nope, it's on Tuesdays. That's our tickle time, which as I say that out loud sounds a little crazy, but it worked really well for us. So maybe scheduling in the things that are fun for other people, but not so fun for you. If it's on the schedule, it can really kind of help curb it and corral it into that one time. But maybe it's just a way for you to actually plan in some of this time, which I promise sounds really rigid at first, but really does allow you to have some of this free space. All right, so step number 2 is to make decluttering part of the fun. We talked about how having all of the stuff really is difficult to then have the space to have fun. So if we need to get rid of the stuff and we want to have more fun, why can't we combine the two together and make it a game, right? Let's do something that can be fun, even if the act of looking through our stuff and decluttering and making the decisions isn't super fun. So a couple things we can do. 1, turn on music. Get a super fun playlist going and go ahead and just, have a dance party while you're doing it. Your mindset going into it has a big impact as well. So if you're sitting there going, oh, this is going to be torture, this is going to be really hard, I don't want to go through this stuff, there's too much to do, I'm overwhelmed, I don't want to do it. You're already starting it from a negative space. But if you come at it from a curiosity angle of like, ooh, what kind of treasures are we going to find today? Let's put on some fun music. Let's dance. Let's laugh. Let's make fun of some of the things we had that we're getting rid of. Like if you're feeling guilty about something, make fun of it. Like have a moment of just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I had this. And like play around with your kids and your family as you're going through these things. That makes it so much better. Okay? I promise it does. Then think of some fun games. Think if there's ways that you can make it more enjoyable. So maybe this is roll a dice and say, okay, maybe the dice is going to be how many minutes you're going to declutter for. Maybe it's how many items you're going to declutter. Maybe it's if you have a bunch of boxes on a shelf and you roll a dice and it comes with the 3, you're like, okay, I'm decluttering the 3rd box down. There are so many different ways you can incorporate games into the process. And that's just a fun way to say like, okay, it doesn't have to be drudgery. It doesn't have to be like, oh, I've got to get through all this stuff. Maybe it's, I'm going to roll a dice and I'm going to open every box on that shelf and however many, whatever die number I rolled, that's how many things I'm going to pull out of the box to declutter today. That way you also get to look and see what's in each box, but you don't have to deal with all of it. You can always, of course, declutter more, but at least this way it allows you to be like, okay, instead of that moment, because I know you all have boxes in your garage or in your bedroom or, a cabinet in your kitchen that you are just like, oh, it's going to be torture going through that because 1, I don't know what's in it. 2, it feels like it's really overwhelming. It feels like it's too much. It's a burden. I'm scared to look in there, so I'm just burying my head in the sand. But if you had this game that said, I just have to get one thing out of there that I don't use anymore, it just alleviates that thought of having to do all of it. So that's another really fun way to do it. You could say, we're going to play this song, and at the end of this song, I want to have 10 things that I'm decluttering. Just grab a bag, go around your whole house. You can start in one place. You can have your partner and your kids start in a different place. And you can say, okay, this music's on. It's going to be really loud. We're going to have that going around the whole house. And everyone grab a trash bag, find 10 things to get rid of. Could be super simple like that, right? Race. And whoever gets there first gets to pick the next song. Something like that. And as soon as you find your 10, you get a different song. So you don't have to listen to the whole song and wait there. Or you can dance break until the song ends, right? And make that fun too. Another way you can do it is obviously involving your children. So in the last one, I wanted to involve your children, but also you can say, okay, everybody find one thing that's the color green that we want to declutter. And everybody goes and finds one thing. that's your thing, right? You can't declutter someone else's things. Everyone go find one thing that's fuzzy. Maybe you find something that's mold covered in the refrigerator. That could be fuzzy. Maybe your kids find a stuffed animal. That could be fuzzy. Maybe your husband finds a pair of socks. Those could be fuzzy, right? All different things, but they can qualify however you want them to qualify. So that's another way, just making it a little more fun. And then if you are tight on money and you're like, I really struggle with decluttering because I feel like I'm wasting money. I spent a lot of money on this stuff and it's really hard to let go of it. Well, then I want you to think of a way that you can sell the items you have that are in good condition, that are going to get some money. And I want you to save that money that you make and put it into your fun funds. I want you to then have a goal, something fun to do as a family or fun for yourself. Whoever's doing the most work can choose how to spend the money. And my guess is it's probably you, Mama. So you get to decide what those fun funds are, but that way you are earmarking that money to use to have more fun. Now, the trick is, please do not just go fill up your home again when you declutter, because again, that's going to negate all of the fun stuff that we are doing, right? We're trying to alleviate the burden and the overwhelm so we create more space and margin for fun and joy. Okay. And then step number 3 is to swap stuff for experiences. So I want you to keep a fun bucket list in your house. I want it to be visible. I want your family to know what's coming up. I want them to say like, oh, we're not buying this, that, or whatever because we are going to do this, that, or whatever, right? So we're not going to buy the new board game because we already have 20 in our board game stash. So instead of buying a new board game, we're going to save up our money. We're going to sell a couple of board games we have, and we are going to save up and go to an escape room as a family. That might be a really great way to incorporate those two things into now an experience instead of buying more stuff for your home and even decluttering and selling a few along the way, right? This way you can incorporate this idea and this goal into your family. Makes it so much easier if you've struggled with children who are used to getting gifts and presents and toys and things throughout the year and not having them, stay within what I call them gift giving holidays, which are like Christmas, Hanukkah, things like that, and your birthdays, right? So if you are kind of one of those families that buys things any time of year, this is a really great way to get everybody on the same page and working toward a joint goal, something that you're all invested in. So now you have the reason, right? You've created the fun bucket list. It's visible in the home. So when someone says, I really want to buy this thing, you can remind them the decision has already been made and you can say, oh no, remember we're saving for our fun bucket list. So we're not bringing anything new into the home so that we can actually go do these really fun things that we have planned for this summer. This is a perfect time to do this. That's why I'm doing this episode, because summer is here and we are going to be trying to figure out what to do for the summer. So we are actually having this moment tonight. When this episode comes out, I did it the night before. Hopefully I'll be posting on Instagram about it, like what our fun bucket list is for the summer. So we're trying to think of some really fun things to do. And again, we don't get to all of them. Like we create a list of things to do in the summer and we get to some of them. Some of them don't ever make it to the light of day, which is fine. It's just an idea, something to fall back on when we're having days where either we are struggling to get out of the house, it gives us a reason to get out of the house, or when we are thinking like, oh man, I really want to buy that thing or do that thing. We're like, no, look, this is our summer fun bucket list, and that's what we're going to work toward. So I love having these. Again, something that's visual for you to be able to reference back is really, really great, especially if you have littler kids. Or even myself, I just forget because life gets busy. So it's always great to be able to refer back to that. So it's not just for our little kids, also for us too, moms. But the thing I want to leave you with today, as you're listening to this episode, is that fun isn't frivolous. I think sometimes we think it is the reward at the end of the day. And it's really hard sometimes to get to that end of the day because there's always more to do. There's always more on our plate. So we have to carve it out. It's not frivolous. It's freedom. And the path back to fun and this freedom does not require buying more bins. In fact, it doesn't require you buying anything. It starts by letting go. It starts with a mindset shift. It starts by getting everybody in your family on board and really creating the journey of fun and incorporating it the entire way through. So it's not a one and done. It's not an at the end. It's not after all the hard work. It is right now. We can make room for fun today. Okay? That's what I really want to leave us with. So, if today's episode gave you insight or a helpful nudge, I would love to hear from you. I would love to know what your fun bucket list is for this summer. So, come share ideas. So, comment on the Instagram post for this episode or join our Facebook community. On Instagram, I am at Wannabe Clutter Free, and we have a private community on Facebook called the Wannabe Minimalist Family. And share, let us know what is on your fun bucket list. One, it can help keep you accountable. And two, you can help give ideas to other families that might be struggling in this area. So, come and help a mama out, right? So come on over. I think it would be really fun to have this conversation with you, and I can't wait to hear what you are up to this summer. And don't forget to subscribe because this is a 10-part solo series. I'm working through that empowering life assessment framework, and this is only part 3, so we've got lots more to go. If you still didn't figure out what this is all about and how it fits into the clutter freedom method, go back and listen to episode 256. I explain the entire process at the beginning of that. So it gives you kind of a refresher and helps you see where these start to fit in. And yeah, I'm excited to keep bringing you these episodes because I think clutter and the stuff we have in our home and life really does affect so many different areas. It's a very holistic approach that I take to decluttering. It's not just throwing out the stuff that's in your home to make space for pretty bins. It's to make space for the life that you actually want to be living, right? It's waking up and being excited about your life and saying, like, I want to have the life that I woke up to today. I want to be me. I want to, get out of bed and live this life that I've created for myself and my family. And I'm not saying my life, me as the podcast host, is Deanna. I'm saying you as the listener, like you have created the life that you want. So that's my whole goal for you. And getting rid of the stuff is getting rid of that stuff you don't need so that you actually feel excited about every single day that you're living your life. So I hope that resonates with you. I cannot wait to see you back here next week. If you're wondering how to afford all of this fun stuff that we just talked about today, and you're like, this is great, but how am I supposed to pay for all this? Join me next week. I'm joined by Brittany Flammer, and we are talking about the 5 bank accounts. There's a couple more bonus ones in there that every family needs, and she has such a wonderful way of taking the money that you already have, spreading it around into these different bank accounts and setting them up so that you actually do have the fun money to go and do the things you want without the guilt, without the overwhelm, and while still reaching your savings and, debt payoff goals. So if you are in debt, she's going to talk to us about how to pay that off, but then also how to save for the things that we want to do in life, whether that's buying a house, buying a car, retirement, any of those kinds of things, while still having the money to live your life. All right, so I think you're going to love it. Don't miss it. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that. All right, until then, take care, keep things simple, make room for fun, make fun part of the process, and you will enjoy it more, and so will your family, and it's so much easier to get them on board when they're actually enjoying it. All right, remember, I believe in you. I know you can do it. I'm Deanna Yates, and you've been listening to Wannabe Clutter Free. I'll see you next week. Cheers.